Hello and welcome to Walter Doodle's Art. I'm going to do a charcoal portrait, and this is a realism from chaos. I'm using an 8.5 by 11 parchment made out of cotton. I will be using pigment, the powdered compressed charcoal. I will be using a pan pastel black. I have several pigments of that from white through to black, different grays. A kneaded eraser, um, that I use a lot. I didn't use this. This is a blending sponge, and sometimes I use it. I often will just forget about it and use my hand, which I just love getting my hands just filthy. These are two pieces of vine charcoal. The thin one is willow. That one, I don't know what it's made out of, but it's fine. That one's soft. The willow's medium. This is a soft palette knife. It's a plastic palette knife that has a foam um, blender on it, and I use that with the pan pastel and for just regular blending. This is a hard vinyl white eraser that's for really getting in there, and a chamois. I use that to smudge stuff around, smear it out. You could use that for also erasing a little bit. Here I want to show you how I like to mount my pieces of paper when I'm doing a drawing on my cutting board. This is a cutting board I got from a quilt shop. I find them to be the best quality. They're not cheap, but I love them. They really work well. This one covers my entire drafting table that I use, drawing table. What I do is I first, it's as if I'm going to tape it down like this, just straight down on the cutting board, cutting mat. But then what I'm going to do is once I get it all put down like this, I will flip the page over so that the sticky side of the tape is pointed up. And of course here I came away with one piece of the tape not sticking, so I had to redo that. Excuse me here. Once I do that and I have the sticky side facing up, then I take longer strips of tape, and I use just the painter's tape. I find it easier to come off. But I use that painter's tape, and then I tape the tape down onto the board, and this way I'm not taping on top of my paper, so I don't have any borders that are going to confine me. I'm only using an 8.5 by 11, which I rarely go any smaller than that in my drawings. And since I'm just now getting back into all of my video making for my art stuff, I really didn't want to do a very big one. I thought I'd say something here about what goes on. This I recorded, and it actually is upside down. The camera that I have and the tripod that I have for this in my studio, I really need to get a longer boom arm and then a camera that can zoom in so that I can put this way up above me and have it come over the top of me. But I had to record this upside down and then flip it around in post production. Here I am, I'm throwing down some powdered compressed charcoal. I use a paintbrush to do that, and then I start dabbing it around with the paintbrush. All I really am trying to do at this point is just throw some tone down on the paper, move it around. I hate working with just a blank sheet of paper before I start doing stuff. I am looking at the uh, portrait that I printed off, um, and I squint, and then I squint at the page, and I try to figure out where are my darks, where are my lights. I don't really care about detail at this point, and as you can see, it's just mostly chaos. And here I'm speeding up the drawing process now 3 times so that we're not stuck here for the full half hour it took me to draw this portrait. Then I use the chamois and I really push that stuff in where I really want it dark, and I will never get that off the page. And that's fine because right now I'm literally throwing tone down on the entire page with my fingers. I just smudge everything around. My next step before I really start laying in proportions, and I won't even get to details for quite a while. All I really care about at this point is where are the darks, where are the lights, and just the basic broad things. And I go through a process of really lightening up stuff, really darkening down stuff later on. Sorry. The drawing that I did here, uh, I used the portrait that I wanted as a model in a specific way. It did not have as much area showing as what this drawing has. For instance, it cut itself off. Um, Half of the eyebrow on the right, it was cut off. The chin was cut off. Right below the lower lip is where it was cut off there. And so there are things that I had to fill in with my mind's eye. And I like that kind of uh, example for me to draw from. I never get the thing looking like what the picture is. I rarely in charcoal will try to even approach realistic or photorealistic. I like it to look kind of real, but I like you can see there's just chaos being thrown around. And then I just try to smudge that around, and then with the eraser and with my Vine charcoals, I'll start adding details a little bit here and there. But one of the reasons I like vague, really close up images to draw from is that since I have to fill it in with my mind's eye, I can approach my drawing in the same way. And um, one of the things that happens because of that is my proportions, I don't get them correct right away. Rarely do I ever get them correct immediately. I often have to just do it and add more charcoal, take away more charcoal. It's like sculpting a little bit. It's not quite right, take a little bit more away. Or maybe like clay sculpting, because you got to maybe add some clay here and add some clay there, and then that was too much, so you got to take some away. It's the same thing with the lights and the darks. Sometimes I take, and right away I have way too much light going on. I want this to be a little bit darker in certain areas. For instance, on the left side of the drawing, where that eye that you can see is, you're not going to be able to see it barely at all when I get done. And that's what I want. I like to be able to present something where the viewer has to fill in some of the details with their own mind's eye. I just find that whole process absolutely fascinating. I haven't even gotten to the correcting the shape on the left side of her face, because that's not what it looks like. And I had to go in and do some, take it away, do some more, add more darks, add more lights, add more darks, add more lights. It's cutting away and adding to and cutting away until I get it to that point where I really want. One of the things I like about charcoal is um, with ink drawing, I have a smudge that here I am. I'm now starting to refine the shape of the face on that side, and I'll do some more with some Vine charcoal in a little bit. Um, the chin, for instance, remember, it's not even there, so I have to kind of guess what is that shape going to be like for me, and that's one of the reasons why I really like how the drawing turned out at the end, because it is totally my own. And here I just am trying to take away some, even though most of that's going to get covered again, reshape that so that it comes down even past what the printout, and that was not what I wanted, so I took that away, and you can see I've got more of the shape of the face that I want. And now I'm going to start obliterating it where you really can't see it as much, but it's there, even if it's just slightly there. Um, I noticed that the eye on the left and both eyes really are not correct yet. You're going to see me work on those quite a bit. The iris and the pupils are things I often get at the last particular moment in time. And usually that comes when I really significantly darken up what's going on under the eyebrow, because that's one of the areas on a face that's usually quite dark. That's just a little, I wanted a little reflective light, and I'm going to correct some more there. And I want to spread some of this tone around so that when I take away the tone, the lights really do become lighter in contrast to the darks. The things I find interesting here is with value. One of the exercises, and I'll go through this exercise every once in a while, is I'll take a sheet of paper and I'll draw down 10, 12, 15 2-inch squares. And starting at 10 being the darkest, I will go from, or 15, however many squares I drew, I will go from pure white, one of the squares being pure white, and then I'll try to graduate going to as dark as I can make charcoal. Or just the reverse if what I'm drawing on is like a dark gray or a black paper and I'm using white charcoal, but it's still the same thing. The 10 is the darkest, the 0 or 1 is going to be my lightest, and I try to make it graduated in that. And that's a pretty good exercise to do because when you're drawing these faces, they're not just dark and light, there's graduated tones. Actually, most of this drawing is probably sitting in the 5, 6, 7, 8 range if I went to 15, or a 4 and 5 range if I just had my scale going to 10. This is one of those things where the mind's eye comes into play. You really could not see that much hair on her. There was a couple strands of her hair over the eye on the left, but there was nothing visible on the right side of this drawing. And I didn't want to keep it that way. I wanted to see her hair. I wanted to see that chaos. Here I am, and this is going to get a little darker as I go along, but I wanted to give the indication that there is some shape here, so I had to give it some graduating tones. And that's just the process I go through. I do absolutely love charcoal. I never really used it much until I was in my 40s, maybe. Um, so maybe 20 years ago. And but once I started using charcoal, I realized I love the messiness of it. There's a spontaneity you can go with, and a absolute. It's like an impression of the reality of something. And here I am, for instance, I'm really taking away the details on that left hand side. I loved where I got there. That you have to fill in that stuff for yourself. And that's part of it for me. That brings the viewer in. And I'm just kind of finishing up a few little details here, correcting the shape of the eye, the shape of the iris, and things like that. Again, it's really simple. It doesn't cost much to get these tools. Some pan pastels, those little soft palette knives are inexpensive. Vine charcoal's inexpensive. Kneadable erasers. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you did, would you please give me a like and subscribe? This is something I've been wanting to do, and I really appreciate that you took the time to watch me. And you guys, God bless you, and I love you. Have a wonderful day, and I hope you enjoyed